city or a town, a frown. The business of a crown, of the living that abounds, of the church and the announcements. It's doing what counts, the underground sound in a city or a town, a frown. The business of a crown, of the living that abounds, of the church and the announcements. It's doing what counts. The underground sound is the voice within, to give ear to the spirit and to flee from sin, to live for Jesus and the praise of him, by not selling out for the praise of men, to do whatever it takes, no matter what the cost, to keep pushing up the weight, carrying the cross, straight bench pressing sin, defend the word that lacks, and your best mention him, or then you gon' die. Cause the underground sound in a city or a town, the business of a crown, of the living that abounds, of the church and the announcements. It's doing what counts, the underground sound in a city or a town, the frown.
Go.
All right, so we are live on the underground sound. I'm Daniel Walsh. I'm Irish. I'm living in the Shetland Islands, and I've been hired on here to do an interview. Well, I've been hired on here to kind of take over as co-host for a while, and we'll see how that goes and see how it progresses. But today I wanted to do an episode where I get to speak to my man here, Scot Davenport, and talk about everything from strongman, powerlifting, bodybuilding, MMA, and podcasting. So what's up, man?
What's up, bro? I'm excited, man. This is going to be fun. I haven't done one of these yet with me being interviewed.
It's your first time, right? Yeah.
It's my first time on the other end of this stuff, dude.
How's it been for you, man? Like with the whole bodybuilding competition that you just did, like what, last weekend?
Yeah. I just competed last weekend, and it's been so much fun, man. It's been a blast. Like, everything else I've done has been performance based, and
Yeah.
I can't explain, like, when you compete or whatever, you get kind of like a nervous adrenaline, it's just, and I love it. I love that. Personally, I love that. I'm kind of like an adrenaline junkie, I think, in a way, because it almost feels like, to me, it feels like time stops or something when you get that like adrenaline rush. And in bodybuilding, you go and it's like, it's that same feeling. You got a competition and you don't have to perform though, dude. Like, you're literally just going up on a stage and flexing your muscles. You don't have to like lift a heavy ass rock above your head, or you don't have to like fight somebody or like bench press 500 pounds. It's like you're just going up there and showing off. And some people call it like a beauty pageant, and I would kind of agree with that. And it's kind of weird,
Yeah.
but I kind of like it too. Like, I kind of like it, and in a way, it's one of my favorite things I've ever done.
Yeah, like I've never competed in bodybuilding. I never would, but I absolutely love the sport,
Yeah.
And like there's a lot to learn in the sport, like when it comes to learning about different body parts and judging someone against someone else. There's a lot to it. There's a lot more to it than just what meets the eye,
Absolutely.
Like the posing. There's a lot of posing that has to be done. Your conditioning, like there's so much involved in it that people don't realize.
Going to the shows, I would have to say that the element I have enjoyed the most, watching other competitors, has been the guys who really take their posing seriously. And I will say, absolutely, without a doubt, the guys that are the best posers that I've seen live anyways at the competitions, they had the worst physiques, man. They don't even look like they lifted weights. Like, these guys they didn't have muscle on their body, but they freaking had these posing routines, and they had this look on their face like they're so serious. And I just really enjoyed it. I really had a great appreciation. I was like, this is fantastic, man. Like, this is like awesome to watch. Yeah, I really, really like it. And you know, because I guess what drew me into bodybuilding is the training. You know, I fell in love with bodybuilding because of the lifestyle. You know, it didn't really have anything to do with competing, but now that I've competed and stuff, it's like I really actually appreciate the I appreciate the presentation, I guess, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I noticed you said to me when you did the first one back at like what big did you do that back in around March, April this year?
May. It was May.
The first one, May. Was it May? Okay.
Yeah.
You said you dieted pretty hard for that one. Like you never did cheated, you never did anything off the diet.
Mm-hmm.
And coming from like powerlifting, that you got to what 275, 280, was it?
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
then you came all the way down.
yeah, the heaviest I competed at, I was 276 because I was trying to make the 308 weight class. And I wanted to break the record in the 308 in my age group. You know, that there's all these divisions. So I'm in the submasters, which is I think 35 to 40, and
Right.
for whatever reason, the 308 weight class, the record was lower than the 275. So I wanted a for sure record, right? I just wanted to have a state record. I was like, I want a state record, and I knew I could beat it. I was like, I could beat this. I could beat the 275 record too, but I knew for sure I could get the 308. So I bulked up, you know, I ate everything I could possibly eat. I mean, I was eating freaking McDonald's and pizza, whatever I could just eat, you know.
Any idea how many calories a day you were getting in?
I have no idea, but it had to be a lot, bro, because I mean, it was like eat as much as you can all day. I remember one day, dude, I was at work and I went and got like this family-sized nacho from Taco Bell, and it was like an insane amount of nachos, bro. Like it was for like 10 people, and I ate it by myself. And it's just like, it's so disgusting to think about now. Like, what the hell's wrong with me? But I was trying to make that weight class. So I ate my way up to 276, which is the smallest you could weigh to be in that division. And I broke the record.
Yeah.
I broke the record in the bench press for Oregon. And what happened, this is what happened though, bro, is that I had been doing strongman and powerlifting for a couple years, and both of them were, I'm the type of person where it's like, if I'm going to do something, I'm doing it all the way. So I noticed, I don't know if you noticed this, but I noticed the bigger I am, the stronger I am.
Oh, yeah. Weight moves weight.
Yeah. If I could put on weight, I could lift more. And so I got big as I could to be as strong as I could. And, you know, immediately my blood pressure was elevated. So my blood pressure was like, you know, I was in I want to say that I got up to like the 170s, 180s over, I think probably 100, 110 or something. So it's like pretty high, man. And
pretty high, yeah.
And it wasn't mind-bogglingly concerning. I got on a medication for it, you know, because apparently it's better to just take a medication than, you know, like you want to lose the weight, but a medication is good enough in the meantime. It's better to have it lowered, right? So I got a medication.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I got on a medication, and you know, I actually did lose weight at one point, and then but then when I got back into powerlifting, that's when I ballooned back up again. And the last time I ballooned up, though, I went to the doctors, and luckily my doctor is actually a competitive bodybuilder. My doctor is.
Oh, you're lucky. You're lucky.
Yeah. Can you believe it? And so he always runs all these blood tests on me. He's like, oh, let's do this and let's do that, you know? And I was in stage 3 kidney failure, bro. Because of the blood pressure.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my GFR was like 54, I think, which, you know, it's becoming a concern. And so me, I'm married. I have a wife. I have a daughter. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to risk my health personally with a wife and
Yeah,
a kid.
before we go on, I do want to say, like, anyone that's watching this, if you have high blood pressure, get it sorted. Seriously, get it sorted. It's easy to take care of.
Yeah.
Like, just go to a doctor, a GP, whatever. Like, and like, you need to get that sorted. It's a silent killer. It fucks up your kidneys, and you don't even know you have it unless you really take notice of it. So check your blood pressure. It's a simple little thing to take care of. You don't have to even get blood tests for it, right? But yeah, sorry.
Absolutely. No, that's a good message, bro. Like, you're right, because
No, it really is. Yeah.
and I knew it was high. I just wasn't that concerned about it, until the kidneys started to be affected. And that's when I said,
Yeah.
nope, not doing this. And I think my last competition was it was in a December or something, or I don't remember exactly what it was, but I said, I'm losing the weight now. I'm losing the weight. I'm cutting down, and I'm not doing this. And in my mind, I was like, the best motivation to stay on track and to follow through would be to do a bodybuilding competition, because in bodybuilding, you have to get super lean, And so if I go, let's say I
One
sign up for
extreme to the other.
yeah, if I sign up for a bodybuilding competition, in my head, I said, if I sign up for a bodybuilding competition, there's no way I'm going on stage looking like a fat idiot, right? Like, there's no way that I'm going to go up there and not have done the work, because I'm not trying to embarrass myself, So that was like a positive thing. And then I was like, I'll get in the best shape of my life and compete in a bodybuilding show, and I'll fix my health. And I hired Dave Palumbo to coach me.
Yeah.
And he did my nutrition plan and my cardio. And literally within 3 months, I think, dude, my blood pressure and everything was fixed. Perfect health. Perfect health.
Perfect health. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's amazing. The extra weight, man, it puts a lot of stress in. It's not just fat either. You carry muscle, and that muscle needs constant energy and blood flow all the time. It's a lot harder. I believe it's a lot harder on your body to be 300 pounds of muscle than it is to be 300 pounds of fat.
Yeah,
because your heart, lot harder.
Your heart has to support the muscle. Yeah,
exactly.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what the heart does. I mean, it's the support.
That's what the heart does.
Muscles. Yeah. Yeah, but that's how I got into it.
You kind of you basically really got into the bodybuilding for health almost then, it sounds like.
100%. 100%.
That's cool.
And then it was a byproduct too, to get in shape. And, it's just interesting to me, like.
And I gave you a goal, right? Goal driven.
Like, I would say, as far as being gifted goes, you talk about being gifted in ways. I feel like I'm way more gifted towards strength, like it just comes way easier. Like I gain strength so much easier. And I feel like I could actually be competitive at a really high level, probably in strength, but it's just interesting that, that I just happen to be one of those people or whatever that it brings health issues for me, and it's not worth it to me at all. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like weird. It's like, oh, that's where my gift is, but that's not what I'm meant to do at the same time.
I know exactly what you mean, man. That's like, I've never competed in the powerlifting either. And each time I wanted to compete, I really wanted to break the UK bench press record. Like about 4 or 5 years ago, it was 550 pounds, 250 kilo. And I got to 245 kg bench, and
wow,
I went to bench 235 kg for a triple, and I was on the second set, and on the second rep, my left pec just ripped off my shoulder completely. The tendon just completely came off. It's like down here somewhere now. And it
Really?
took about a year rehab. Yeah, it was nasty, man. Yeah, it was nasty.
Wait, so
And then
what?
it took me about a year to. Sorry.
What is you could your best bench ever was what 245 kgs? You said.
Yeah,
What is that in pounds? Do you know?
it's about 530 something pounds.
Wow, I didn't know that you got that strong, bro. I hadn't realized that.
Yeah, man, I was 310 pounds too, and I'm only 5'8", so it was rough. It was rough. Like my health was terrible. My cholesterol was through the roof. My good cholesterol was just down in the ground somewhere. And yeah, blood pressure was sky high. Sky high. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
really bad. And my fitness was gone. Like my cardiovascular system was terrible. If I walked up the stairs, man, I was fucked.
yeah,
But
yeah.
that pec came off. I spent a year rehabbing it, and then I got back to about 450 pound bench, and the other pec came off. And then I said, okay, this is fucking stupid. I obviously have like a lot of I can get pretty strong, but I'm like you. If I'm going to do something, I do it 110%. And you always put your health at risk that way. And for me, I'm the same way, man. When it's getting bigger and heavier, my blood pressure kept going up, and everything else just got bad with it. I got stronger, but yeah, not worth it. Not for me anyway. Not worth it.
Yeah, it's just not meant to be, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, because you'll
obviously,
talk to guys like Dan Bell, right? He's like fucking 350 pounds year round and feels great.
but Dan Bell, so I had Dan
Yeah.
Bell on the podcast before, and he told me the most insane blood pressure numbers I've ever heard in my life, bro. Like, he told me that he's like, yeah, I went to the doctors. My blood pressure was like 250 over 150 or something, like unbelievable.
Holy shit.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And these guys do that. These guys, the world's strongest
They do.
powerlifters, they push it to a level that it's like,
You have
it's
to.
deadly. It's deadly.
Yeah. You have to be willing to take that risk, right?
Yeah, it comes with
But
the
the thing
territory.
about blood pressure is, man, yeah, no one, when it comes to blood pressure, it's kind of easy to ignore, but you don't realize it's fucking destroying your kidneys.
That's the thing. It destroys the kidneys. That's what it
Yeah.
affects more than anything. The guy that I talked
Yeah.
to, and he coached me as well, actually. The first nutritionist I ever worked with was Justin Harris. Are you familiar with Justin Harris?
Yeah.
Smartest guy ever, bro. And he explained the whole
Very
thing, how it
intelligent.
works to me. He was like, what it is your blood pressure gets so high, it's filtering everything. So it's just like, it's like having a high pressure hose hitting a freaking, like say you have a strainer like this, like for example,
Exactly.
and he's like,
Yeah,
get a
exactly.
high powered freaking fire hose and hit it with that. It's going to damage everything. And that's what high blood pressure is. It's just super high power pressure.
Yep.
And so it damages your kidneys, and it's really, really bad, dude. And
Really bad, man. Your kidneys are just filters, they just filter the blood. You have the blood just like you were explaining there. Yeah, it's just imagine, and then having thick blood on top of that. So
that's what happened to you,
my
right?
blood is thicker. Yeah, that's what happened to me. Yeah, my blood got really thick.
So what happened to you exactly? Because I remember you told me it was like 2 years you went through this, right?
It was the beginning of last year. I had broke my foot, and after my foot got better and I was starting to walk again, I was wondering why I was feeling so bad. And I went and I got some blood tests done, and it showed that my red blood cells was through the roof. And my blood pressure was 220 over 110.
Woo!
And it was bad, man. My face and head was like purple all the time.
Oh
And I had no energy. It was scary. And I remember I got the phone call from this blood specialist in the hospital. He called me and said, Mr. Walsh, you need to come in here right away. I'm like, why? What's up? He's like, you're at a serious risk of getting a heart attack at any minute right now. I'm like, okay, I'll be there in half an hour.
That's scary, man.
So they started scared the shit out of me. So they started taking blood out of me. So I had a pint of blood taken every 2 weeks for 8 months. Yeah, last year. And then obviously every time I had blood taken, my iron levels were coming down. So the red blood cells kept reproducing and the iron levels just kept going down each time. So by the time I got to September, I had barely any iron left in my blood as well. So I was really sick, man. I was bedridden for over a month. Well over a month.
You go from trying to break the freaking UK bench press record to just being bedridden.
Yep. I remember I went down, I cut the grass outside the house. It's just fucking tiny garden. Like I cut it in 20 minutes and it felt like I had done 12 hours work. I was fucked. I slept for like 16 hours after. That's how much energy. Like I was fucking fucked all the time. It was terrible. And I thought I would never get better. And it gave me a lot of nerve damage and things because my nerves were being starved of oxygen. They reckon, that's what the doctors reckon, because my blood was so thick and then I had so low oxygen because, you know, iron is what carries oxygen, right? So I had thick blood, low iron, and my nerves were getting starved of oxygen. So I have a lot of nerve damage and I deal with a lot of nerve pains and things like that because of it too.
Really?
But yeah, and we don't know exactly what it was from. They think it's from testosterone use. When I stopped testosterone use, it kept climbing back up anyway. My blood kept getting thicker every couple of weeks with no testosterone whatsoever. I got my testosterone tested after being off for like 10 weeks and it was a 3. And over here, that would be like, in your terms, on your scale, the way you guys measure things, that would probably be like 50 to 100 or something like that. Right. So really, really, really low, lower than a woman.
Yeah.
So that was no fun. But I've recovered and I'm good again. Thank God. Just have to be a lot smarter with things now and monitor everything.
But you still don't even know what the cause was?
No, not fully. We had a feeling it would have been sleep apnea. So I got tested for sleep apnea. That showed up clear. So the doctors really didn't understand what was going on. Unless it was the testosterone that had like spiked or sparked something in my genes to like just start releasing more red blood cells. And even though I stopped usage for a long time, it obviously just kept going that way. And it took a long time for my body to calm down and relax again. But
That's
no one
crazy,
really knows.
bro. Crazy.
Yeah, it was scary, especially going through COVID. So there's a lockdown and I was going to hospital all the time during COVID. So yeah, that sucked. But, you know, here I am, still lifting.
You're alive to be the podcast host now, bro.
I'm alive to be the podcast
host. You lived on. And you got the bowling ball delts still, at least.
The bowling ball delts.
They're still there, bro. It looks like you have 3 heads. You got like a bowling ball head, maybe, bro, and the 2 bowling ball delts right.
I must be doing something right then if that's the case, man.
Yeah.
But let me go all the way back here then. So if I take us back to, we're talking about bodybuilding, the difference, we were talking about gaining weight in powerlifting. How did it feel for you going from like eating the way you were in powerlifting to a bodybuilding diet, like a strict bodybuilding diet?
You know what was crazy is first I felt like I needed a coach. And the reason was there's so much information, and I think you're the same way from our conversations. I listen to all kinds of stuff all the time, bro. Like I love listening to bodybuilding podcasts. I love listening to interviews. I love, listening to all this stuff. And it's almost like you get overloaded with information to the point where it's like worthless because you're just like, like it's like, should I do keto? Should I do intermittent fasting? Should I do carb cycling? Should I do, right? There's like, and it's like, you just need one. You just need one, dude. And so I was like, man, I can't and I'm also the type of person where it's like, if I'm going to get leaner, it's like, okay, if I cut my calories down, I'm going to get leaner, right? Well, I'm the type of person that'll go like super low I'll go too hard. And so then I'll lose muscle, and you know what I mean? So I was like, I need a expert, you know? And so for me, Dave Palumbo's a guy that I listen to, and I could tell Dave, he loves bodybuilding. And he's also,
he definitely does.
He's also extremely experienced because he's worked with probably like thousands and thousands of people, right? So he's kind of like seen it all, you know? And so I was like, all right, sure, I'm going to hire Dave and work with him. And I did. And, I did the math, because he doesn't do the math. He just gives you the diet. Like, here, eat this 10 ounces of this and 300 grams of that and whatever. Well, I did the math, and it was like I was eating like 3,000 calories a day on his diet. Right?
That's decent.
Yeah. It wasn't no like
for cotton.
Yeah, it wasn't no 1,800 calories or some bullshit like that.
Yeah,
right?
you weren't starving yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's important.
So it was easy. It was easy. And I think what made it easy too is I knew that it would work. And I knew, having the health issues for me made it a priority. It made it important to me. And, even more than the health issues is my family, because I was looking at my family and I was like, dude, for me personally, there's no way I'm going to sacrifice my health because it's not fair to my family, is how I felt about it. I was like, I can't do this to them because they need me, And so I feel very, very motivated for that reason. Yeah. Extremely, extremely motivated. And I was like, this is a super top priority for me. And so, I dieted, I want to say I dieted for 6 months, man, straight.
Like, no cheats.
No cheat. I mean, there was cheats, but they were planned cheats. So it's not cheating. I didn't cheat. I never deviated from the plan. But if there was a scheduled, like one meal a week, he would say, eat a cheeseburger. So that you could call that a cheat, but I wouldn't call it a cheat, because that's what the plan
that's
was.
not. Yeah, that's sticking to the plan. Yeah, that's completely different to like cheating. Yeah.
I never cheated in terms of did something that wasn't the plan. Never.
Yeah.
Not once.
Yeah.
And I
lost. What
lost.
about your training?
So for my training, I did very, very low volume, and I've always been super intrigued with and just, believed in the high intensity training style. That's been my thing, and I've always wanted to I've always thought that it's best actually to do the full body style of training. And so I actually did that for that first competition. I did like full body workouts where I would do like squats, and then I would do, I would do like legs, chest, back, shoulders, arms, whole thing in a workout.
In the one day.
One day. Yeah. And I ended up,
no joke.
Yeah, man. And I ended up getting to the point though where it was like, it was too hard. So I ended up doing like a split. And I think I ended up with like the Dorian Yates split. So it was like chest and biceps, legs, day off. And then I'll do like back. And then I think I did shoulders and triceps. So it was like 4 workouts. That's what I ended up gravitating towards. But I've always been the type too, like where it's like I try to not I think
I lost you for 2 seconds there. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, you're back though. It froze up.
Okay.
Maybe just a connection error or something. Did you catch what I said, or did that cut out?
I cut out, yeah. So you were saying that you were doing the Dorian Yates split.
Yeah. And, that's what I kind of gravitated towards, was that like a 4-day split.
Right. Yeah.
It's just hard to keep up with those full body workouts. It's just hard.
Yeah. That's really hard to recover from, man. Every week, that's Yeah, that's just too much to recover from, in my opinion. Like way too much.
It's hard. Yeah.
So, did you train much different, like when you were doing the powerlifting?
Um, no, I would say that for the most part, that's what I've done with powerlifting as well.
Hmm. Yeah,
The biggest difference is just food, and I think that's the biggest factor, at least for me, because um, I did lose a lot of strength, like a ton. I lost a
yeah,
lot.
yeah,
Yeah, my strength
yeah.
dropped way down, but I didn't care. I was like, I don't care, man. I'm all about being healthy and trying to get lean. And I got super into that, into my mind, you know, the lean mindset. I was like, I want to get leaner, 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 leaner. And it was weird, man, because I got all the way down to, for my first competition, I got down to 206. So I was 276. I lost 70 pounds, bro.
It's a
70
lot of
pounds.
weight.
Yeah. And I was like, in my head, I was like, I'm gonna get to 190 or something. Like I started getting into that in my head where I was like, I'm gonna be like this shredded, just, you know, and it's
I've
just
been there
weird.
before, yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because that's so small though, right? Like, I mean, it's like
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
weird when you're used to being 270.
I know exactly what that feels like. About 3 years ago, I went from 286 to 200, and I got obsessed with that same mindset. I just want to get ripped, and I got pretty lean, but it fucked with my head. As soon as I couldn't pull 600 from the floor again, that just, yeah, that messed my head up. Plus, man, for me to get lean, I had to like starve myself basically.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. I was on no carbs, zero carbs by you know
you did zero carbs
Yeah, but
by
there
the
was
end.
quite a bit of fats though. So that's kind of how Dave, I guess, likes to do it. Like he had me do it. Like I started off with carb days. Like I'd have like 5 carb days, something like that. It was like carbs and
Right,
protein, and then it would be no carbs, and it was just protein and fat. And then he started cutting down the carb days. So it was like 5 carb days and 1 no carb, and then it was 4 carb days, 1 no carb, 3 carb days, 1 no carb. And so every time I kind of like stopped losing weight, he would cut a carb day out. And
right,
then,
right.
it ended up being like carbs one day, no carbs the next, carbs day. And then it eventually got to no carbs. And then it was just no carbs ever again. Like never again, dude.
Jeez.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're carb cycling. Dave Palumbo seems to be a big promoter of like having extra healthy fats in your diet. He's always been a speaker about putting more fats in the diet, isn't he?
That's why I think it was easy, because
Yeah.
I was eating a lot of almonds, and I was eating a lot of like peanut butter and stuff like that. So it wasn't hard. I didn't ever feel hungry, ever, never, dude. And
Okay.
yeah, I felt great. And then um, uh, I don't know though. After my first show, I I looked at my pictures and stuff, and I was pretty lean, but I wasn't like super shredded or anything. But I also felt like I lost too much muscle. I was like, man, I
Yeah.
feel like I lost all my freaking muscle. Like my arms are like small, because I almost had like 20-inch arms at one point. I never had
Yeah.
20-inch arms. I had 19-inch arms. But then, I don't know how small they were on stage, but they look like, I was like, man, I look like a little like swimmer or something. I don't even look like a bodybuilder at all. And so for the next show, I stuck to the same diet, but I added carbs back in to kind of fill out,
Yeah.
and I went from 20. I think the first competition, I was like, I weighed in at 210, but I had my clothes on. So I was probably about 207, 206 for the show. And then the second show I did, I came in at 222. And I feel like I was,
222.
yeah, I feel like I was better. It was the same diet, but then like I said, I added carbs back in. And I felt like I looked better
Yeah.
because I gained a little bit of fullness. Like my back was a little fuller, my legs were a little fuller, you know, I was a little bit fuller. And then for my third show, I just basically stopped dieting altogether, bro. Like I just started eating like normal, you know. I was like, man, I'm gonna eat some toast with butter and freaking milk, you know, drinking whole milk and eating peanut
Back to the
butter and jelly
powerlifting
sandwich,
lifestyle.
you know. But my weight kind of stayed the same, and then I actually ended up coming into my third show at 220, so I was actually a little bit lighter, and I had gained from the other competitions. My bench was up 100 pounds. 100 pounds,
Really?
bro. Yeah. So in training, I'm like way better. And in my head, I was like, I'm gonna be way bigger, right? I was like, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
freaking way bigger. I have to be because I'm so much stronger. Nope, I wasn't bigger, bro. I wasn't bigger. I was like the same size, and I would say less definition. So that little experiment of seeing if I could go into it without dieting, it wasn't, it didn't get the result I wanted. So I wouldn't recommend that to anybody.
Yeah, I
Because I
think
think what
that's
it
why
is
it's,
you hold water and stuff like that is what it is, really.
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's important for a lot of bodybuilders that compete a lot, that they don't ever get too overweight, too fat in the off season, because I think when you got to diet down, you're going to sacrifice a lot of muscle. No matter what you do, you're going to sacrifice a lot of muscle. You know, you
That's,
can
yeah,
have the
you're right.
best training split in the world, best supplements in the world, but you're just going to lose a lot of muscle along that process, like, because you're making yourself catabolic, right?
Yeah, I remember actually listening to John Meadows, and John Meadows said that when he finally figured it out, he said he would be 227 off season and he'd be like 223 on stage. So like almost the same weight.
Almost the same weight, yeah.
That was that.
That
That's what
man was always shredded. He was
he
always shredded.
yeah. And I think personally, I think that's the way to go. I really do. And that's my goal now is like, I'm not
Yeah,
going to allow
I
myself
think
to
so
get
too.
big again. I'm not going to do it. I'm not ballooning back up.
Yeah, it's not worth it if you're going to keep competing. Yeah, you're better off to like try and gain and grow while staying as lean as possible at the same time.
Yep.
Obviously, there's a lot of work to find that balance, like with the training and the diet and everything else. But it's probably the best way to go about it for sure. Like, yeah. Did you? I'm curious if Dave had you using many supplements during the time when you started to work with him.
Yeah, he had me using, man, I don't know, all whatever his species nutrition stuff though, Mega
He's got a lot of
Life.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I can't
Mega
really
Life, yeah.
remember what he had me using, but it was like the protein and oh yeah, I think I used Testalize, which balances your
Yeah, helps balance your hormones and everything.
mhm. And then there was another one, the Lipolize. He has one called Lipolize, and that actually really helped with my appetite. Like it kind of
Really?
made you not very hungry. So yeah, that
Okay.
worked for me.
Did you ever use any supplements when you were powerlifting, like just protein, creatine, or did you ever
No,
really use them?
I didn't use any.
Yeah,
When I was younger, I was so into supplements, and I feel
me
like they
too.
didn't really work that well, to be honest with you. And it's a waste of money,
Yeah,
kind of. I
yeah,
think when you're
yeah,
getting lean, there's value to it, but for powerlifting, I just ate. That's it. I feel like that's better.
yeah. Definitely is better. Yeah, absolutely. And I remember you said that you did strongman as well. How long did you? You said you started out doing strongman, like you started in MMA, and then you went to strongman. Is that right?
Yeah, I did mixed martial arts for 10 years, man, and competed in that. That's what I've done more than anything. And
Yeah,
what happened was I got pneumonia. I got pneumonia and I was still trying to train. I was just so crazy, dude. Like my lifestyle was just train all the time, and I was in the gym and there was this really good professional boxer in my gym and I was sparring him with pneumonia. and he beat the hell out of me, right? Because I had no cardio. I couldn't breathe, dude. And this guy just beat me up. And I was like, what am I doing? I remember I was like, what's wrong with me, man? Why am I coming to the gym and sparring with pneumonia? I can't even breathe. And so I stopped that day and I was like, all right, I got to stop. And then I found that for a while I didn't train at all. And I'm a very, very calm person. I'm very, very, I don't know, just even keeled, mellow, whatever. And I found myself getting very angry. Like I would be driving around and I just started thinking thoughts of like, I hope this guy freaking does something so I could pull over off the side of the road and beat his ass or something, right? And I'm like, what the hell's wrong with me, man?
You wanted to justify hitting someone, yeah.
Yeah. And I realized after a couple of weeks, I was like, I have to train. I have to. It's part of my life. I've been doing it since I was 11.
Yeah.
I can't just not do it. And so having pneumonia, I thought about it and I was like, I could go do like 1 rep in a gym, And so I went to the gym and I just did singles. And I think like the first day I lifted weights, I like squatted 405 and benched 315 or something like that. Like the first day, like I hadn't even lifted in like years. Yeah. And I was like, dang, like I was like, I can't believe how strong I am for not lifting weights at all. Yeah. And so then I started training a little bit and I got my squat up to really quickly. I squatted 500 and then I think I benched like 365 and I deadlifted 600. And that's when I was like, boom, the bug bit me right there. I was like, dude, what could I do? You know what I mean? I was like, what could I do? And then I was off to the races, dude. Like it was like 100% like I'm going after it,
Yeah, that feeling of what can I do? Yeah, that question is always there, right? It's always there. I don't think that kind of question ever goes away for people like us. I don't think it ever goes away, man. It's just a matter of trying to tame it down, I think. And I don't know, but I think that question will always be there.
Well, it's weird, bro. Like me and you have had a lot of conversations about like psychology and stuff like that and the mental side of things. And it's very interesting to me because I got so obsessed, like my results. I think results are the best motivation in life, right? When you get positive results. And for me,
yeah, definitely.
In terms of strength, my body just responds, dude. Like I can make crazy strength gains but I got so strong. And then, like I said, then that went hand in hand with, okay, I'm going to get as big as I can so I can be as strong as I can. Dude, I married my wife. I met my wife. I was doing jujitsu 3 hours a day. I was like 205 pounds, right? And then now all of a sudden I'm like 270. And I'm freaking, I'm benching 500 pounds or whatever. And, I'm going for this. And man, my wife, she did not like it, dude. She was like, this isn't good. You're not healthy. This is not,
She's
and I couldn't even see it. Like, I couldn't even see it, bro. I couldn't even see that I was like way too overweight and I wasn't healthy, and it just wasn't a positive thing overall for me. And
I hear you.
You know what I mean? And my wife
was very easy to get blinded by it.
Yeah, it's just weird to me that I couldn't see it. Like, to me, that's the weird part. Like, I did not see it.
I think you feel the same as me, man. Like, when it comes to strength, like getting bigger and bodybuilding, it's subjective, isn't it? And you don't know for sure if you're getting bigger, and when you're getting heavier, like, am I getting fatter? Is it water weight? Am I gaining muscle? But with strength, there's no questions. You can either lift the weight or you can't. And when you see the numbers just go up, it's just an addiction.
Yes.
It's an addiction. And it's such a simple thing. It's such a simple thing. And once you start to see those numbers go up, yeah, it's hard to stop. And you get blinded by it. You get in that little tunnel vision, man, and you get blinded by it. You don't give a shit about anything outside of it.
I didn't, bro. And it wasn't good though. Like I look back at the pictures now because I have pictures and I'm like, geez, man, I looked terrible. I didn't even look like myself, you know. I look like a different person, you know. And it's funny too, because like originally my strength goals when I was really young, I had my goals, and I don't know if I have my book right here because I wrote a book. I don't know if I've ever gave it to you. I wrote a book and on strength training, and my goal when I was really young, I wanted to squat 500 for reps, bench press 500, and deadlift 700. And the reason was that's what Arnold Schwarzenegger did, right? That's what he did. So I was like, in my head, I was like, I'm going to do the same thing, and then I'll look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know?
Yeah.
Well, I did. I lifted the same weights as Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I didn't look nothing like Arnold Schwarzenegger at all, bro. Like nothing. You know what I mean? Like not even.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
You know, and so that was a big. Pete Rubish actually helped me to achieve those goals too. By the way, just I worked with Pete Rubish, and he's the guy that got me to my lifetime goals. And great, cool. A fantastic. I recommend him for anybody that wants to achieve powerlifting goals. Go to Pete Rubish. You know, he's got a really good price, and he's freaking amazing, dude. Amazing experience working with him. And he, you know, I achieved my lifetime goals working with Pete, and but it did not achieve what I wanted from it. It didn't make me Arnold Schwarzenegger, that's really what I wanted. Really, like when I was younger, that was like what I set out, you know, what I set out to do. Was to get this a physique, you know, and I'm gifted in strength, but I'm not gifted in physique. I'm not one of those guys that you know, naturally has this great body and then just builds it up a little bit, you know, which I think that's probably Arnold Schwarzenegger is probably like that.
And that's just something that we have to accept too, you know, like we are all different. Genetics is a real thing. Not everybody can be as strong. Not everybody can have a physique like a bodybuilder. It's just the way it is. Some people nearly fall kind of in between of both. Like they're strong as hell and they're jacked, you know, like Larry Wheels or whatever, someone like that.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, it's something you just have to accept after a while, you know?
Yes.
And we all, like, everyone's limbs are different lengths, everyone's muscle bellies, like everything is different. Everyone's different.
Well,
so you can only do what you got.
I think your journey might be on a path that you're not gifted at, you know, and that's kind of where I found myself at. It's like now I'm on this bodybuilding journey, and it's like I'm not gifted to be a bodybuilder. Maybe in some ways I am. I have really good calves naturally. My calves are like, you know, I would say probably my calves have been like the best calves, you know, in the competitions. Like I just have really good calves.
Yeah, I've noticed that actually. Yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah, so I'm gifted in that way, but I'm not gifted. I'm not like a naturally super lean guy. I'm not like six. You know, I think most guys in physique competitions are probably guys that are like the guys that have naturally like six packs, and then they put on a little muscle. You know, they're like skinnier. Dude.
Yeah. And it takes a lot for them to put a lot of or put any muscle on. Actually, it takes a lot of like. They have to do a lot of work to gain like 5 pounds.
Yes, but it looks really dramatic when they do it though. Because
they're so lean, yeah.
Yeah, and so
they're just small. You know, their hips are small, their waists are tiny. Their shoulders look wide because their waist is so small. I mean, I know exactly where you're coming from. I just always wanted to be strong as hell and have huge arms. That was like my thing.
Yeah,
and that was just my obsession. Like. I wanted to be able to deadlift 600, bench 500, and have 20-inch arms. That was like my main goals. And
did you get the 20-inch arms? Did you get them?
Yes.
Dang, bro,
I went over. I had
21.5-inch
arms. I had 21.5-inch arms, my biggest, I think. Yeah, just
that's
a little bit
insane.
over.
my arms never got above 19 at the biggest. Like when I was the heaviest I ever stepped on a scale was 284, and my arms were 19 inches. I don't know. I just don't, I don't have really big arm. I mean, 19-inch arm is pretty good size arm.
19-inch arms is a big arm, man.
Yeah, but
It's not
20-inch
bigger
arms,
than the
man,
average guy.
I was listening when we were talking to Jean-Pierre Fuchs. I was like, man, maybe I should give this synthol stuff a try, huh? No, I don't think I
it's
can
not
do
steroids
that,
either, right? No.
That sounds pretty horrible. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I could go that route.
I've cut out for a second. The idea of using synthol sounds so painful, man. Like putting like 5 cc's, 5 mils of an oil every couple of days into like a muscle group. Yeah. And I've noticed a lot of the guys that used the synthol, heavy users, were also addicted to things like Nubane, injectable.
Oh, so they didn't feel it.
Tramadol and stuff like that. That's what I reckon, yeah, because that definitely went in hand. A lot of guys that use synthol are also heavily addicted to painkillers.
You know what's crazy? Have you ever heard Greg Valentino say he never used synthol? Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, I believe him. He just used actual steroids, the same as, right? So well, that's the same thing.
Yeah, that's what's crazy. Is I talked to this guy at my gym, and he was telling me, he's like, the testosterone, if he injected that much in his arms, it has the oil in it. So
the oil's already there. He was doing it, yeah. He said like he would use 6 grams of testosterone a week. That's just test. He said that wasn't like the 3-4 grams of the Equipoise or Deca. Like, that's a lot of oil.
Yeah.
To do that for 4 or 5 years straight. I think it was 4 years he did it for, he said, before he was arrested. It's ridiculous.
But it's crazy, bro. He's crazy. I love listening to that guy talk, though. He's really, really
He's brilliant. He is great, yeah. Yeah, he is great. He's really honest, too, isn't he? He seems like a real honest guy.
Yeah, that's such a great quality, too. And you know what's funny is people don't like that. Like we were just talking about that guy Nsima, right?
Yeah.
Everybody loves Nsima, but he's not an honest person, right? Like he's a liar. The guy's a liar, dude. He's not an honest guy. And then you know who people hate? Boston Lloyd, the most honest person ever.
The most honest guy in the whole fitness industry, probably, yeah.
He's so honest, man, and people hate it. They hate it. And I asked, I don't know if I told you, but I asked Boston his values. Did I tell you that?
Yeah, you did say that, yeah.
His values are like morals, integrity, honesty, trust, like the best values ever, dude.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Like,
he's a really good guy.
I don't know the guy, but I can tell he's a pretty good guy, yeah. I can tell that for sure. People don't like honesty, man. They don't like the truth.
And so for my next show, I'm being coached by Boston. Boston's coaching.
Brilliant.
Yep. He's gonna be flying the plane in, dude. And I like his style, man. He's pretty straight up, like he told me, he's like, we got a lot of work to do, man. And he's like, I'm gonna be honest with you, like most power lifters, they don't make it because they're freaking can't handle the diet. That's what he told me straight up. Like he's like, I don't have much hopes for you.
Again, he's honest. God.
Yeah, just said it straight up,
I think that's really true, though. I think a lot of us that fall into strength training is because we know we can't stick to the likes of a bodybuilding diet. I know that was definitely a part of it for me. Like the whole bodybuilding diet is just, it's hard, right? To eat proper macronutrients every 2 hours.
It's so hard, bro.
Every 2 hours,
it's
every
like
day.
A job. It's like a job.
That is a job. It's extreme discipline.
It's a lot of work.
Training is the easy part, right? The training is the fun part.
Okay, so let's talk about this though. So I actually got extremely inspired by Boston as well. This was initially kind of where I was like, like this is interesting, because I started watching training videos of Boston. I don't know if you've ever seen any. Have you ever seen any training videos of Boston?
Not in a while. I've seen a couple.
So every single video of Boston I've seen, he has the best form I've ever seen of anybody ever train. Ever. I've never seen anybody train. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, you look at it and you're like, is this for real, or are you faking this? You know what I mean? Like, I was like, is this fake? Like, are you just doing this for the camera? Because he does it so controlled and slow. Like, even on the way up, he's going slow. Like it's like, dude, what the hell? Like, how could you train like that? You know? Yeah. And I've talked to him about it, because he said, he's like, dude, I don't think strength translates over to muscle. And that goes against everything I've ever believed. But I can say, for me, strength does not translate into muscle for me.
Yeah, I think a lot of strength is definitely more in the nervous system, right?
That's what I think. That's what I believe. It's
obviously you need muscles to lift the weight.
Yes.
But it's definitely your nervous system and your mentality, and then your muscle.
Yeah.
Because like you're training your nervous system to handle that weight every time. And you know what it's like sometimes if you're doing a heavy bench, you unlock the weight, and when you feel the weight, as soon as you feel it, you're like, oh shit, I don't know. I don't think I can, I'm not going to be able to press this. And then you'll bring it down and you will press it. And then there's other times where it completely breaks your confidence because just the fucking feeling of how it feels in your hands, or when you're doing a big squat, having that weight across your shoulders, it breaks your confidence, and then you don't make the lift.
Yeah. Were you a pretty strong squatter?
No. My biggest squat I've ever squatted in training was only like 660 or something like that. No, 686. Sorry, that was the most I squatted.
686.
Yes, nothing great. But to be fair, I never loved the squat, and that's definitely why I could obviously definitely push the squat a lot more. I think I'm kind of built for a squat too, but
you look like
I just don't love. Yeah, like I just don't love squatting. I love deadlifting. I love benching. So I kind of tried to stick to that. If I did love the squat, maybe I'd probably get much stronger in squat. Like, but I'll see.
Yeah, I think you look more built for squatting than deadlifting.
Yeah, because I'm short and I'm wide.
Yeah. I bet you could squat a ton, man, if you really focused on it.
If I really focused on it, I probably could, because I have a thick waist and I have big legs. For someone that doesn't even train legs that often and that hard. The squat, though, yeah. The squat's a serious lift, like, isn't it?
Yes, I think it's the most serious. I think it's the best lift there is, though, in my opinion, the squat. If you train the squat, it makes everything else stronger more than any other lift, in my opinion. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah. I mean, it's the squat or the deadlift, Yeah, I don't know. I always argue with that one in my own head. I can't make up my mind about that one. I mean, I'd be biased to say it's the deadlift, right? But that's just because I love deadlifting.
Yeah.
The thing about the squat, though, is like the squat can fucking break your back. It can crush you. When you're doing a deadlift, you can drop the weight.
I think the
you can't
deadlift
drop it
is
so easy in a squat.
I think the deadlift is the greatest test of strength, but I don't think it's the greatest to build you up. Personally, that's just my opinion.
I agree with that. Yeah,
I think the squat will build you up more, but the deadlift is more of a hardcore test. Like, that's like, who's the strongest dude? Like the deadlift guy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but the squat will definitely add more to your lifts, like all around, and add to your body mass all around for sure. Like, yeah.
But so for me, I'm completely changing my training now to where I'm going to train. I'm getting it out of my head, strength. Getting it out of my head.
Okay.
I'm all physique now. I'm going for the physique goal. I'm going to train just to work the muscle. I'm going to focus on the muscle. I'm going to diet hard. I'm going to do cardio. I'm going to do what I have to do, but I'm not
Right.
going to get sucked into that. How much can I lift? Because I already been there, dude. I already been there. I already done that. And it's like, it
You've been
didn't
there,
get
yeah.
me, it didn't get me the result that I wanted, I mean, the only result that it
Yeah,
gets me is
yeah.
to be able to say, hey, I could lift this much. And the only people who care is like somebody like you, like nobody cares, bro. Yeah. I remember when I
No one
benched
cares.
500 pounds the first time, I told my wife and she goes, how many times did you lift it?
Yeah, yeah.
I said once. And
Oh,
she's like,
only
why?
once.
What's the point of that? That's what she said.
That's what most people say. They don't even know what 500 pounds actually is,
No, yeah. It's
They
just,
can't picture it. Like, I think that's why people, I think that's why strongman is so much more popular, because, they see objects being lifted and they can relate to that more. You see a beer keg being lifted, or a log, or a car, people can more relate to that. They can't relate to a bar with plates on it. I mean, strongman is getting really popular now. And I mean, that's because of Eddie Hall and people like Thor. But I would say Eddie Hall is really who sparked that off. It has more potential to be like a TV show, a TV program. I wish they would do something like that with powerlifting. But again, people can relate to the strongman more, I think. I think that's why it's become so popular. Like, you said that you went into strongman from the MMA because you were feeling like crap and you started doing the 1 reps and singles and that in the gym.
yeah.
And then you decided to get into strongman. Like, how long did you train before you did your first strongman comp?
Okay. So this is interesting. I did powerlifting, and then I actually started working with Pete Rubish, and he was coaching me. And I don't remember how strong I was, but I was strong. I mean, I was freaking strong, dude. And, you know, saying I get into strongman, I guess, isn't the right way to put it, but because there was a guy, one of my friends was like, hey, there's a local strongman competition here in town where I live, Southern Oregon. I live in Oregon. He was like, Southern Oregon strongest man is here. And he was like, you have to do it, He's like, you have to. You're like the strongest guy in Southern Oregon, probably, right? And I was like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. And so I did it, and I said, all right, I'll do it. And you know what? I must have been benching 500 and deadlifted 700, because now that I think about it, the worst injury I ever got in my entire life was in this strongman competition I did.
I'm not surprised to hear that.
Yeah, I did the the yoke.
Yeah.
So I did the yoke, ran with the freaking yoke on my back, and then I think the competition, it was yoke. Then I did, I think I did I did a circus dumbbell. Then I did a keg over bar. And then the last event was the farmer's carry, right?
Right.
And when I picked up the farmer's carry, I pick it up and I took one step, and it felt like my knee was completely like loose. Like it felt like my knee was just gonna pop out. Like I was like, oh my God, dude. Like there was just no strength in my knee. Like my knee was just, I guess the best way I can explain it is just say it's loose. So my knee was completely loose.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I just walked hella slow. Like I just walked, I did the farmer's carry like as slow as I could and got through it. And, my knee was just absolutely just destroyed. And I didn't go to the doctor. I don't know why, because I could walk on it fine and everything, but I couldn't squat for years, bro. because of this. My knee,
Really?
and my knee ended up, this is the weird thing. My knee ended up getting better. And that's why I stopped training with Pete, because I couldn't squat, and then I couldn't deadlift either because my knee was so jacked up. I couldn't deadlift, and I was like, I don't really want to just, train the bench press. And I had already completed my goals, like my lifetime goals. I wanted to bench 500 and all that, 700 deadlift. I did that, so I was like, all right, well, I'm good. And then the injury somehow transferred to my hips. I don't know how that's possible, but my knee got better, and then my hips got jacked up. And it's like I would try to squat, and I would literally go down like 2-3 inches, and the pain on the sides of my hips all the way down my quads on the outside, it would hurt so bad I couldn't squat down. Couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. And I just gave up. I didn't squat for years, bro.
Okay. Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense if you had a bad knee for a long time. That's definitely going to cause an imbalance in your hips, like, right?
I guess so, because it definitely did. I mean, I know that's what it's from.
Yeah.
I know the hip thing was from the knee injury. Like, I know that. I don't really understand it, and I went to my doctor, and he didn't really know what was going on either. So I didn't really ever get it figured out. And then eventually, it's funny because eventually, like, I could randomly I went back. What I did was my squat got super strong when I learned how to low bar squat. And and so I went back to high bar. I was like, all right, I'm going to try high bar again, like Olympic weightlifter style. And then I was able to squat again. And then, like, the first time I squatted, it was like, again, 400-pound squat. I hadn't squatted in years. And it's like, for some reason, I could always just squat 400 pounds, no matter what. But it was like this, though. Like, I'd squat 400 pounds, and then the next time I couldn't squat again. So it's kind of been like that for me.
Right.
To this day,
So that injury just pretty much stopped you from to continue in strongman, yeah?
No, I did strongman again. So in my first one, I got second place in Southern Oregon Strongest Man, and then a year later, I did it again, and I won. But there was no squatting event, so it was like, I think the second year there was a truck deadlift. So I deadlifted a truck, and then there was a block press. You had to press that block overhead. And then, man, I can't remember the events, dude. There was I know there was a farmer's carry again at the end. And then I don't remember what the third event was. Maybe it was a log press or I think it was a keg again. I did the keg again over a bar. Yeah. And I won that one. So I got second place in my first strongman. Then I got first place, Southern Oregon Strongest Man. And then there was some issues too. Like when I did the block press, for some reason, the way my body's built, they want you to lift it, and then you have to, like, get your arms. They have to go behind your ears, right? Okay. And then your arms also have to straighten out. Well, for whatever reason, my arms always look like they're bent. So I lifted it above my head, and my arms, like, the guy was just looking at me, and he wouldn't call good. He just look at me, bro. And it pissed me off. Bro, it pissed me off so much, it made me never want to do strongman ever again. I was like, I don't need to do this. I don't need to freaking hold the damn block over my head for a freaking hour. I mean, it felt like an eternity,
Some of the rules in strongman are funny, right? I mean, some of them make no sense. It's just the form is not as strict as it would be in powerlifting.
Yeah.
And then like you're saying, they have funny kind of rules on other certain lifts, like where there's a lot of silly, stupid rules, in my opinion, that don't make sense. But yeah, what was I meant to ask you? I wanted to ask you, like, from MMA, strongman, and powerlifting and bodybuilding, when you do your training sessions, which one do you think was the hardest to recover from?
I think MMA, because it's weird, dude. It's weird. It's such a weird thing. Like, I love weight training more than anything. I love it.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing to do. For
The weights aren't hitting
MMA,
you back.
huh?
The weights aren't hitting you back.
Yeah, and so for MMA, I love competing in MMA more than anything. It's my favorite to compete in, but I hate training for it. I hate training for it. It's just because it's draining and it makes you weaker.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so much work, you get weaker, you know? Like I didn't lift weights when I was fighting. I didn't lift weights for 8 years, bro.
Did you 8 years? Did you do any kind of resistance work?
No, I only did skills, only skills, because my joints would hurt. Because I also was doing like hard jobs too. Like I was working at like a mill and stuff. So it was like if I was gonna do MMA, work at a mill, and lift weights, it would just destroy my body completely.
Kill you. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
But there's nothing like stepping in the cage and fighting somebody. There's nothing like that, bro. Like that.
I can't imagine how that feels. Yeah, I can't imagine. I've never done that before.
Like unbelievable. I mean, it's like it's just, I would call it like being alive. I mean, it's got to be like doing heroin or something, bro. It's euphoric.
Yeah.
You know, whereas to me, it's weird because I never really even had a desire. As much as I absolutely love powerlifting, I didn't even really have a desire to ever do it. And I would have never done it if I hadn't looked up. The reason I competed in powerlifting, I can honestly say, is I looked up the records and I was like, I could beat this records. That's why I did it. I was like, I was
You're
like,
always competitive, yeah.
You
See, your competitive nature is there the whole time. I've noticed through all of this conversation, like I can hear like the competitiveness in you the whole time. Yeah. You're seriously competitive.
Yeah, and it's weird though. Like for me, my personality type, it's like I like the experience more than anything though too. Like I stop and smell the roses through the whole thing. I'm not the type of person that's like so focused. Like I'm like, I enjoy it. I really do. Genuinely enjoy the whole process. Like when it comes to competition day, that's the best day, bro. It's like birthday, you know what I mean? This is like Christmas Day. Like this is fun. I'm alive. Yeah. You know, it's like this is the day I'm alive, you know?
Yeah. That's cool. And I have to ask you, like, it's been on my mind because you speak about your faith a lot. You've made lots of videos about your faith.
Yeah.
Did you have faith the whole way through this? Did you always have your faith the whole way through?
So this is funny, man. Okay, that's a good question. I've had my faith since I was 15 years old. That's when I found God. I was 15. And in my early 20s, just life went bad, you know, I'll just put it that way. Like, I won't get into details, all that stuff. Life went south, dude. And I started experiencing, this will be good, bro, for you. You'll like this. Because I started experiencing very severe mental health problems. Yeah, really bad. And I didn't even believe. My mom had these problems, right? My mom had anxiety and depression like my whole life. And I never believed her, dude. I said, dude, just get the hell up and go outside and go do something, you know? That's what I'd tell my mom. Because she'd be like, I can't leave my room and all this stuff. And I was like, sure you can. Just get up and go outside. Like, you know, what the hell's wrong with you? And so I never experienced it. Well, in my early 20s, I started experiencing anxiety so bad that I thought for sure that something was wrong with my lungs or my bloodstream or my veins or my heart. Like I was like, something is physically wrong with me because I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was drowning 24 hours a day. I felt like I was suffocating, like someone was killing me or something. I was like being waterboarded all the time, bro, to the point I couldn't sleep at night. Nothing, dude. I'm like, like all the time. Yeah. And I went to the emergency room probably 20 times. I went to the emergency room and they said, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "I'm dying." And then they said, "Yeah, but what's wrong with you?" And I was like, "I just told you I'm dying." Because normally, so a psychological thing is if someone says, if you go to an emergency room, they'll say, "What is wrong with you?" And you'll say, "Well, I cut my wrist and I'm freaking bleeding to death." Right? So that's a thing that I could tell you about, right? I'm dying isn't really saying anything. Like, I'm dying. Like, that doesn't mean anything. So that's what you're experiencing. You think you're dying. You feel like you're dying. And I did. I felt like I was dying. I was like, I can't breathe. Sure. Like something's wrong with me.
You were clearly having panic attacks. Panic attack does feel like you're dying.
I was having insane panic attacks, bro. And so, like, literally, I went to the emergency room like 20 times. And I mean, I remember one time, bro, I hyperventilated so badly, my hands curled up like this, and I couldn't move them because I hyperventilated all the carbon dioxide out of my body. So my hands went like this, and they were frozen. And I was like, I can't move my hands, dude. Yeah, it's weird the things that start to happen to you. And, you know, and when you're having these panic attacks too, like normally you take breathing for granted. You don't know, like, did I breathe in enough? Did I breathe out enough? Am I breathing too fast? Am I breathing too slow? It became something where when I breathed, it was all conscious. It was no longer, I had no longer subconscious breathing. I didn't breathe just naturally. I had to mentally, I had to make myself breathe in and out.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah. And then when I went to the emergency room to help me, the doctor gave me a paper bag and he said, "Here's what you got to do. Breathe it in where the bag goes all the way down and breathe it out so it goes all the way." Right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And it was really a state of I would say it was like suffering, bro. And I felt like I was being tortured. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
I felt like I was being tortured. And I didn't even feel like I hyperventilated and I had such bad anxiety. I felt like if I ever went to sleep, I would die. So I never slept. So I was always exhausted all the time, 24 hours a day. I was tired, you know, and so I was never actually rested and I was always tired and, you know, and I was never doing anything. And it was insane. And okay. And there's a lot to the backstory. So people might be like, what the hell are you talking about? My best friend was murdered. My brother was in the hospital dying. My mom tried to commit suicide. I found her and she was in a mental institution. And then I found out about a bunch of people close to me that were molested, all kinds of stuff. The world is a horrible, evil place. Like, I mean, this is, you know, and it's all happened at the same time. So
yeah, I can relate.
Yeah. You know,
that's a lot of stuff to deal with, man.
A lot of stuff, bro. Yeah. And also my daughter was born too. So at the same time,
Jesus Christ.
One of the greatest things that ever happened to me, but it was just, I was very young and I was, you know, I was overwhelmed, man. I was outside of my ability to handle this. And I also didn't have like a father figure in my life at all at this time either. So I was kind of like trying to figure it out on my own. And you know, I had in my late teens, I had lived with my uncle who went, you know, he threw me out and threatened to kill me. So that was kind of like how I left. Right. And it was because, you know, my uncle was one of the people who was molested. It came out that he was molested and he had done crystal meth the whole time I lived with him. He was an alcoholic. So a lot of ugly stuff here, you know? And that's why I
Real
don't
ugly
really
stuff.
like to go down that, you know, I don't like to go into it too much, but it just
Yeah.
is what it is, man. Life could get ugly, you know?
Yeah.
And
World's a dark place, brother.
the world's a dark place, bro. And at this time in my life, it felt like, you know, I don't know if you've ever experienced the Holy Spirit in your life, but when I got saved when I was 15 and found God, it was because I did experience the Holy Spirit, you know?
Yeah.
And the Holy Spirit was with me all the way until I was like 20. And there's a term, you know, Christians like to use, they call it backsliding. I don't know if you ever heard of that, backsliding, but it's where you kind of go off the path. You go off your path with God.
Yeah.
And that's what I'd done. And it was like the Holy Spirit just left me, bro. And I just had no connection to God at all. It felt like, you know, I was like,
Yeah.
man, God's gone, man. You know, like, it felt like.
I know that feeling, lonely feeling.
Yeah. And so I still believed in God, but I was so disconnected, just completely disconnected. And so I had actually moved in with my best friend's family, who he was murdered. And I moved in with his family to try to like support them. And his brother had been shot as well and run over by a car. And so he was all jacked up, right? Like bullet wound through his freaking leg, and, you know, his face is all jacked up. He's on painkillers. Older brother's dead. And nobody talked, bro. It was like living with animals that just looked at each other and they spoke with these looks of sadness, you know, and and then they just go do whatever, like go get some food or whatever, you know, but nobody really talked. And it was so depressing, bro. It was so depressing. And like me trying to be there to support them, it was like it didn't help, dude. You know what I mean? I was trying to fill the void, but it just didn't. And you know, the overwhelming darkness, the things I started, you know, there's a thing, Leo talked about it, Leo on longevity, where you experience, I think he said it's called depersonalization. Like it's where you feel like you're out of your body.
Yes. Yeah. I'm aware of that. Yeah.
That's how I felt, bro. I felt like there was no ground under my feet. I felt like I was suspended in this void. Like I just felt like I was in empty, and I felt like I didn't exist. I didn't feel solid. I felt transparent. I felt like I wasn't even real. I just felt totally just lost in a void of, you know, whatever, dude. I don't know, man. I don't even know.
Existing. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I started having suicidal thoughts. Like I'd find myself sitting there and I'm just thinking about, like, you know, not consciously, but like subconsciously, I'm just sitting there and I just have these thoughts of like shooting myself in the head or hanging myself or running a car off a cliff or something. And I remember I just thought, I was like, man, why am I thinking of those things? You know, like, what the hell? Why am I thinking these things? And it started to become a good idea. I was like, man, you know, like, because I realized, I was like, I can't live like this. I cannot live like this where I can't breathe and all that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I'm just, you know, like suffering, you know? And I was like, I don't have a life right now. My life is just trying to breathe 24 hours a day. Like, this is not a life, dude. You know? Yeah. And so I was like, you know, it'd be pretty nice to put this to an end, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I started contemplating it, and I was like, well, how am I going to do it? You know, what am I going to do? You know, like shoot myself in the head or whatever, you know, hang myself or what? And, and I realized, you know, this is the darkest moment of my whole life ever. The darkest moment. And I realized in that moment that there was no way I could kill myself and face God. There was no way, bro. You know what I mean? I couldn't do it, bro. And that's when I realized that my faith was real.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
That was the moment. That was the moment
That's when
where I
you
was like,
realized
you know what?
it was real.
I really believe in God. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. That sounds like an awkward one to try and explain to him.
Yeah, because I couldn't do it, bro.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I was like, nope, I can't do this. And so what I did instead is I sat there and for the first time in a really long time, I had a really sincere prayer. And I just prayed. I prayed for God to take my life. I did. I said, God, please, like, take my life right now, you know?
Yeah.
And it was it was such a good heartfelt prayer. I actually thought he was gonna do it.
I don't think it works that way, bro.
And the funny thing is, like, you know, yeah, he didn't. And so I sat there and I was like, well, damn, right? Like, this is awful. And yeah, and so I'll tell you what happened, bro. This is where, you know, you talk about faith. You talk about faith, and was my faith there through all this? It's incredible, actually. And I don't think I've never shared this publicly or anything like that. But I was working in a mill. I worked at a mill, and I was doing the hardest job you could ever imagine. It's called pulling green chain. And it's where you just pull wet plywood off a freaking conveyor belt for 10 hours a day and stack it. Stacks. And I worked with this guy who was 6'7" and just a beast, like a beast, dude. And he had been to prison, and he would drive the forklift. He drove the forklift, and he would come over to me, and he would just talk about fighting all the time, right? He'd come to me and he'd be like, if somebody steps up to you, you just start swinging on them, you know, like, you know, and he's like, it doesn't matter if you win or lose because you get respect, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was telling me, and then he would tell me these stories because he had been to prison. And so he started telling me about prison. And he's like, dude, in prison, if somebody steps up to you, like, if you back down, you're a punk ass bitch and people are going to take advantage of you. And he's like, you don't even have to win, but if you stand up and you fight as hard as you can, then people will respect you, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know why, bro. This crazy stuff this guy would tell me, it would bring me peace. It would just calm me down. I don't know why. Because he would just talk about fighting to the death all the time. All the time. Every day, this guy would come to me and talk about fighting to the death. And it would calm me down, bro. It would just calm me down. And I was like, yeah, like, this is like, I don't know, man. It was a psychological thing, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I was like listening to him, and I was like, wow. And I had fought when I was younger. Like I'd been really good at wrestling when I was in middle school. I like beat everybody in wrestling in middle school. And then I moved to this little town where they didn't have wrestling. So I just started fighting everybody, right? So I'd fight everybody at school and stuff like that. And then when I was 15, I got knocked out hella bad by this dude, right? Like, this guy was way bigger than me, and he just knocked me out cold. And I never wanted to fight again. Like, I was like, nah, you know, I'm good on that fight.
Yeah, I know
I'm gonna lift weights, you know, and get big. And so I hadn't been in a fight, you know, since I was 15 years old. And here I'm 22 at this point, right? So 7 years later. 7 years later, I'm working at this mill with this dude, and I'm suicidal, and my best friend's dead, and all this stuff. You know, my brother's in the hospital dying, and my mom's in the mental institution, and freaking, I got a newborn baby, and so this dude's talking about prison. He's talking about fighting to the death, and he's talking about respect and everything, and it's just easing me, bro. And then he tells me one day, he goes, "Hey, man, you want to go to these fights? You know, my cousin, I'm training my cousin to do these cage fights." And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go to these cage fights. You know, let's go. So I go, and I'm watching, and it was like a circus, bro. Like, this was like, they didn't do blood tests. They didn't have an athletic commission. This is like some guy just threw up a cage and just put people in it, and they just fought each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was not like a sport, bro. It was like, you know, it was like a circus. I mean, it was like freaking crazy.
Underground.
Yeah, yeah. It's like throwing a freaking cage up in a freaking bar or whatever, and whoever wants to fight could go and fight. That was what it was like. And they didn't even ask for your ID, you know?
Okay.
So I'm at these fights, and I'm watching dudes get their teeth knocked out and blood everywhere, and dudes' faces all jacked up. And I mean, people just getting bludgeoned because it's like they were like pretty one-sided fights, you know? And so like people were getting hurt, you know? And it just brought me more peace. Right? And so with all the brainwashing this guy had done to me, right? All the things the guy had said to me, I'm sitting there, bro, and I'm watching this. And the last time I'd fought, I had gotten knocked out cold, you know, and like, I mean, I got knocked out so bad, bro, I couldn't talk for a month. Like, I would try to talk, and I'd be like this. I'd be like, for real. And so I learned to not talk, right? I was like, I'll just talk, right? So I didn't talk for a month, right? Because every time I tried, it was like, yeah, for real. Christ. Yeah, like bad, bro. It was bad. I mean, I think I probably could have like got close to dying. You know what I mean? Like, it was that bad. Because I was 15, 145 pounds. I fought this guy that was 18, like 215.
Okay, yeah, that's the.
Yeah, so like imagine a man fighting a 15-year-old and just knocking him out, bro. Like, it's bad.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, man.
Yeah, and I didn't know any better. I just thought I could, I thought I was like Bruce Lee or something, bro. and so, but so here I am at these cage fights, and the last time I had fought, I got the lights put out, right? And so I still did have all this like anxiety and stuff like that. And it just like dawned on me. I was like, man, maybe this is a way I could go, like in a virtuous, honorable way. You know, like this isn't killing yourself if you go in there and just get killed fighting, right? and the guy was telling me like swing until you go down, right? And so I was like, I could just swing until I go down. So I freaking tell this guy, I go, hey, tell the promoter that I will fight absolutely anybody in here right now. And I hadn't trained at all, bro. Not once. Never. No training.
Do you realize that's insane, right?
Yeah. I was insane.
I love it.
I was insane. And so I tell the guy, I go, hey, tell him, man. And I was like, anybody. I don't care, dude, because I didn't even want to win, you know? And so so he did. He goes to the promoter and he's like, hey, I got this guy and he'll fight anybody. And so the promoter's like, just the kind of guy I'm looking for, you know? and so unfortunately they didn't find anybody to fight me. So I watched all these fights, you know, and he goes, hey, I don't got anybody for you here today, but in 2 weeks we got another show in Klamath Falls. It was another city. And he goes, I got another fight going on. And there's this guy, he's freaking 6'2", 311 pounds. He's been knocking out everybody and nobody wants to fight him. He's like, will you fight that guy? And I was like, sign me up, dude. I was like, I'm your guy. Right?
Yes,
So I'm like thinking this guy's going to be the guy to put me down, bro. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Right.
I was like, this is the dude that's going to put me out. And so I did train for 2 weeks. I went with this guy, that I worked with, and he knew how to box. And we went to this little boxing school, and it was like run by this Mexican boxer. And he mastered the jab. Boom. You just throw a jab, right? Boom, boom. And we would throw a jab for 3 hours a day. Just jab. And you just step forward and jab. And the guy would come over and he'd be like, put your elbows in. Like, and then he'd come back in an hour and tell you one thing, like, put your chin down, punch a little further, you know? So he was just making these little adjustments, and it was like repetition, 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 repetition. So for 3 hours a day, I would jab. And he believed, he was like, if you throw the jab, the right hand's there, the left hand's there, right? That's how his philosophy was. You got to get that jab going, and then everything comes behind it, you know? And so that was the mentality. And then, you know, my other coach, the guy from prison, he was like, look, dude, you're really strong, you know, because I'd lifted weights my whole life. He goes, you're a really strong guy. He's like, you could take a punch. And he's like, you throw these jabs. And then he's like, you come inside and then you throw overhand right. This is what I would do. I go jab, overhand right. And then he's like, then you just throw hooks and uppercuts until the guy's dead, right? Or you're dead. Whatever. He's like, you just fucking go in there, right? Yeah. And then, you know, this is what we're going to do. And so I had a game plan, you know, it was like, okay, here's a game plan, like freaking get it out there, jab, jab, overhand right, boom, 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 freaking punch it, you know, throwing power. So I'm just completely just brainwashed, bro. Like, this is what I'm just going to go down swinging. Like, I'm just going in there and like, someone's going to die. And it was crazy because it made me feel so at peace, bro. I can't even explain it. Like, I was like, you know, whatever happened.
You can find peace within the madness, man.
Dude, it brought the peace for me in just this whole horrible anxiety I told you about and everything. And so, so I go in there and the day of the fight comes. And like I said, it was like time stopped. That's how I felt. Like, I felt like there was no time, bro, you know? And to me, when I found God when I was 15, that's how it felt. Like I talked about the Holy Spirit coming, it felt like time stopped. And so I had this feeling that God was in this. I felt that way. I was like, God is in this with me, you know? God is a part of this. Right. I feel God's here with me. And so I go in there and the fight starts, and you know, I get in the cage and I feel just so calm. I'm so calm. I'm like ready for this, you know? And I'm thinking, dude, the guy's going to kill me, bro, right? This guy's knocking out everybody. Nobody wants to fight him. I trained for 2 weeks, dude. But I'm like, I'm going to go down swinging like a freaking honorable man, you know? I'm going to get respect, you know? And so the fight starts, and I just came out like a vicious, rabid dog. I mean, I'm throwing these jabs, and I freaking bust him in the mouth. And then it's just like, boom. I mean, I freaking hit him as hard as I could. And I didn't know it, but I knocked his teeth out. I mean, I freaking hit this guy so hard. Bam, I saw his face get all bloody. And then I start throwing freaking my hooks on him. And he just like grabs me. Like, he's like, oh shit, you know? So he freaking grabs me and gets me in a headlock, and he's trying to hold on to me. And so basically, the way the fight went was,
I lost you for 2 seconds.
What was I?
You said he just grabs you.
Yeah. So he tried to grab me, and I could tell that I kind of knocked the fight out of him. I could just tell. I could feel it in his spirit. And so he's trying to grab me. And basically the fight went where it was like he's holding on to me, and then I'm trying to get out. And every time I got out, I was just, I'm just throwing these freaking hooks, man. I mean, hard. Like, and when they miss, it was like so dramatic because I just like, you know what I mean? like I'm falling all over the place, you know, throwing these power shots. It was crazy. And I'm hitting him, and he's kind of taking them like this, you know, like boom, boom, boom. And he's tough. I mean, the guy was tough, man, because I hit him with freaking insane power, and he took it, and he grabbed me again, like I said. And then so the end of the first round came, and I went back to my corner, and I'm just calm still, you know. And I'm just like, dude, I'm in heaven, bro. I'm like, this is like, I don't have a worry in the world. Like, I'm not thinking about I'm not thinking about my brother. I'm not thinking about my mom. I'm not thinking about my best friend. I'm not thinking about all the whole way the world's an evil place. And it's like my mind is clear and I'm in a fight.
Yeah, you're in the present tense.
And I'm ready to die, bro. I'm accepting that. Like that was my mindset. It was crazy. I didn't know that you're not going to die, most likely, you know, like, at the time. I thought like someone's going to die for sure, right? And so, so next round comes out, same thing. I'm fighting him, and it was crazy because like I could think so clearly, you know, like we're in this crazy fight, and I'm just calm, and I'm thinking clearly, and I'm freaking throwing at this guy. And this is the first lesson I learned, you know, in a fight because it just happened to me, and I learned it in the fight. I remember thinking to myself, I was like, man, every time I hit him, he's kind of taking it, you know? So I was like, what I'll do is I'm going to fake a left and throw a right, you know? So I did. I came out and I threw the left, but I faked it for the first time in the fight. And he freaking went that way. And then I just freaking bam, freaking hit him with the, you know, he went right into this one now. And okay, actually I think that's when I knocked his teeth out, actually. So I was incorrect about it. Early on I didn't. That's when I knocked his teeth out. So I faked him. Boom, I freaking knocked his teeth out and he went down. I knocked him down. I freaking dropped this guy. Bam! And I freaking drops and I jumped on him, dude. I freaking jumped on him and he gave me his back, right? So he gave me his back. And I remember something inside me. It's weird. People could talk without words. Something inside me knew that he wanted out. He wanted out. And he was giving me his back and he was like, choke me out. You know, and dude, bro, inside of me where I was at in my life, I was like, there's no out to this, dude. There's no end to this, right? Like, you ain't getting out. I ain't not letting you out of this, right? So I just start freaking hitting him as hard as I could in the temple. His temple was open right here, and I was like, like, I mean, just freaking like, you know, freaking boom, boom. I start hitting him. Obviously, that hurts a lot, right? So the guy's 311 pounds. This guy's as big as you were at your biggest, right? He's a fucking big guy.
Yeah.
So he starts freaking out, dude, because I mean he's getting hurt bad. And he freaking, you know, he bucks up like a freaking bull, you know, and I'm the bull rider and I go flying off of him. And I'm like, boom. And I fall on the ground and he gets on top of me. So he threw me off. He gets on top of me and I feel it, bro. I feel like I can't get out, dude. This guy's huge. I was like 220. I think I was 218. He's 311 pounds. And he's on top of me. And I just knew, bro. I knew I'm going out. He's going to put me out, dude. Like, I'm done. Like, he's going to freaking knock me unconscious right now. You know what I mean? Like, I just sensed it. I had this feeling inside, like, this is the end. And I was fine with that. I was like, do it, dude. Do it. You know? Put me down. Right? And I can't get out, dude. I didn't have the skills to get out. I didn't know anything on the ground, really. I just did boxing. And so I'm down there.
2 weeks.
Yeah. And I feel it. Yeah. I don't know how to explain it. I feel this energy. I feel that you feel like it's over, you know, and all he's got to do is just come up and just put me out. And I'm ready for it. I'm like, all right. And right then it's like, and the bell rings, dude. And I was like, it was the weirdest feeling in the world because I was like, what the hell? Like, there's bells, and you know what I mean? Like, because I had this prison mindset, dude. So it's like, there's a bell, you know? And I just get up and I feel so weird about it, dude. I was like, this is weird. Like, I was like, about the end is here, and now it's not, you know? And I get up and I go in my corner and I'm like, all right, next, I'm ready for the next round. I'm like, all right, yeah, we're in this fight, you know?
Yeah.
So the guy, he rolls over and he sits against the cage. He's sitting there and he goes, he's got his teeth knocked out and bloody face and everything. And he goes, I'm done. He's like, I'm done. And he quit. And everybody's like, yeah, right? Everybody's like freaking out, dude. My team's like, yeah. Like, everybody's hella happy, bro. And I swear to God, bro, I was like so depressed, dude. Because I was like, no, it's over. And now I have to go back to my miserable life of suffering.
Jesus.
That's how I felt, dude.
That's heavy, man.
Yeah. And I couldn't deal with it. I was like, no. And I was so sad. I was like, oh my God. Like, all I want to do is just keep fighting, you know? And so after that, I just fought as much as I could. I could. And I said, sign me up for the next one. And
that's where it started.
And that experience, like I said, you talked about my faith, made me believe that I was meant to do that. It made me believe that I was meant to fight. It made the whole thing, that whole experience, it just was like, I don't know, man. Just everything about it was like God is in that, you know?
That's really interesting, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is really interesting. I wasn't expecting you to go on that. That was really interesting, yeah.
It's a unique story, right?
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. The whole finding peace within the madness, you know?
It was all mental.
I can understand that. I get exactly where you're coming from.
It was all mental for me.
Story.
It was all in the mind. It had nothing to do with
all mental.
You know, because the deeper I got into fighting, the more I fought. You know, after 4 fights, probably, I realized I wasn't gonna die in the cage, right? Like I was like, oh, I'm not gonna die doing this, you know? So that kind of left me. And that was hard because that was kind of like what gave me strength, I think, was that whole like...
You realized you would die.
Yeah, the whole fighting to the death thing was kind of what made me come to life and fight, you know? But then when I realized I wasn't going to die, then it was like, okay. So then I was just like committed to doing it though. So I was going to keep doing it, you know? And then it became, well, what do fighters do? And it's like, okay, now you have to learn Muay Thai. Now you have to learn Jiu-Jitsu. Now you have to learn, you know, boxing. You learn all these skills, you know, and that, but that was never what it was for me. Like that was part of it, but it was never what it was about for me, you know? And it made me, in a weird way, just like not fit in with fighters, or, you know, because people didn't necessarily, you know, mine was like a crazy prison mindset that I had, you know? So it was weird. It was, I don't know, like if I could tell you the journey, it was so crazy. You know, the whole journey was like, it was just such a crazy experience, going from that and you know, and man, how do I explain it? Like for you as a lifter, right? How long have you been lifting? How long have you been lifting, Dan?
Probably like 15, 16 years, maybe longer. I think I first started lifting at 12. I'm 33 now, so.
Did your passion ever leave you?
No.
Never.
Maybe at times, yeah. I was certainly less hungry at times. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, I would have been less hungry at times.
That's impressive, bro. That's amazing to me, because so for me as a fighter, I went through a period where, like I said, I realized I wasn't gonna die, and then that whole spirit like left me. You know, the crazy spirit, it left me. Like I didn't go into fights with this crazy, like I'm gonna die thing. And so then it became more about skills, you know, and that's when I took a step back. I wasn't as good because I didn't have the skills, you know? So it was like I was more raw and strong and crazy. And then so when I took a step back, then it was like, okay, now I got to learn the skills. And then I started losing fights and stuff. And then I wanted to quit too. And it was like, but I was so deep into it. You know what I mean? I was so
As you
invested.
were progressing into the fighting,
Yeah.
did you notice that your mental health started to improve? And do you think that's why a lot of that anger started to go away?
I did improve in terms of the anxiety. The anxiety went away, but the depression did not go away, and it got worse.
That was still there.
The depression probably got worse, and then I got to this point in my life where my life, it felt completely empty, and that's because there's a lot of reasons. You know, I which I don't even want to talk about, but there's a lot of stuff in my personal life, but my spiritual life, I felt disconnected from God. I couldn't find God in a church. And then, you know, the fighting became meaningless. Like I didn't have this issue of I want to die. So that was resolved, right? But I was so invested in fighting. And like I said, I felt called to it. I felt like I was supposed to do it. But I didn't have that same mentality anymore. So I was like, how can I fight now? You know? And I couldn't really catch up in the skills, you know? There was guys that were so skilled and stuff. It was like I was just not as good, you know, in that way. You know what I mean? And I was more like a physical beast, kind of, you know?
Yeah, you were a brawler.
Yeah, and you kind of take more damage that way. Your body gets more.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's not good. You want to be more technical. And so it's funny though, my sister, right? She's married to this guy, and her father-in-law is a pastor. And this guy, bro, he's connected to God, bro. And I could tell you that because again, whenever I would talk to this guy, time would stop, right? I'd have that same experience. And then he would also answer questions I was thinking about. I know this sounds crazy, but he would. The guy would answer questions that I had never told anybody that I was thinking about. And he would just tell me the answer.
I get that.
Right? And I was like, dude, you know, I was like, this guy, man, he's connected to God, you know? And so I always held a lot of value in what he would say.
Yeah.
And one day I was visiting with him, and I told him, I said, I think I'm going to quit fighting because I just don't know. I don't know why I'm doing it anymore. And I don't even feel like I can do it anymore. Like I didn't have the motivation, you know? It didn't feel fulfilled. Like I was like, whatever journey I started on, it was not fulfilled. But I just felt like I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm doing. And he goes, this is what he tells me. He goes, no, you got to keep fighting. And I was like, why? You know, this man of God, bro, you know, talk about faith being a part of this.
Yeah.
This is what he said to me. He goes, God made you into a fighter so you could reach the fighters. And he's like, God's sending you to these places because there's all these people, and he's like, all of them are in pain, and all of them are suffering, and all of them have all these problems and all these issues. And he's like, they're not going to go to church, and they're not going to seek help. They're not going to go and get help. They're fighting to deal with their problems, and it's not working, you know? And he's like, God's sending you there. And he's like, you're going to reach the coaches behind the scenes, backstage. You're going to talk to the referees. You're going to meet. And it was weird because like when he told me that, I realized like I'd been fighting for years and years and years. I never even noticed the people backstage, bro. I never even noticed other fighters. Like I was so focused on my fight. All I noticed was like my cornerman and then the guy I was fighting. That's it. And everything else was like a blur.
Had that perspective. Yeah, you didn't have that kind of perspective on what you were doing. That's pretty cool that he made that clear to you.
bro. And then I went to the fights, and then I could see the people, and I could see that I could just see that they were people with problems. Like I could just tell, man. I was like, man, these people they got something to. Most fighters have something to prove.
Yeah, of course.
That's why they're there. They have something to prove. They feel like people dismiss them, or maybe they got bullied or something, or I don't know what it is. They got whatever thing where they feel insignificant. And this is their way of saying, like, I'm the man, dude. I'm going to show you. I'm going to prove to you. You know what I mean? But it's
absolutely.
It's a physically, man, it is a brutal sport, bro. Like it beats you up, dude. It's not like strongman. Like strongman can injure you like really badly, but like the worst injury I ever got was in strongman. But in MMA, it's like it just grinds your bones to dust, bro.
Yeah, I cannot imagine training to be an athlete like that. Like it's out of my mental capacity to even think about how it is to train like that week in after week out, you know.
Yeah. And then a lot of guys, dude, a lot of these fighters like take so much damage. I mean, they're taking damage, bro. Like they're fighting in the gym. I was always pretty smart. Like I didn't want to fight in the gym. I didn't. I was like, it ain't worth it to me, dude. Like I know how to fight. I know I can fight. I don't need to friggin' fight you in the gym. You know what I mean? I don't need to take head blows in the gym. Like if I'm going to take blows, I'm going to take it in the cage. That's how I always felt.
Yeah.
Know? But a lot of guys, dude, they fight every day. They're fighting in the gym. You know what I mean? And they're damaged, man. And then eventually, they are. It's too much, dude. And it gets, you know, they can't take it anymore. Their body starts breaking down. And think about it. Like if this is your whole way of dealing with life and then it's taken from you, then what?
Exactly.
You know? And so, you know, and I've made a lot of connections with people and, you know, talked to a lot of people. And I mean, I don't know if my example has been, I've been very overt with my faith, you know, as a public figure, I guess you could say, like, because everyone in the MMA scene where I live, they know who I am because I have more fights than probably everybody. Like, you know what I mean? Like I fought more than most everybody. Most people, most fighters fight like 3 times, most of them. Then there's the guys that commit to it and they fight 20 times, 30 times. You know, I've probably had, I don't know, 35, 40 fights or something. And so, because I fought mixed martial arts cage fights. I fought boxing. I fought Muay Thai. I fought kickboxing. And then I've done 100 jiu-jitsu fights, if you want to call those fights. You know, they're just, you know, jiu-jitsu matches, but, you know, but everybody knows who I am, right? So, and it's like, dude, I'd come out to my fights to worship music. Straight up, dude. I'm just coming out to worship music. You know what I mean? And that was my way, just trying to represent, dude. You know what I mean? And I would tell people too, you know, I started my Facebook. The reason I started my Facebook was because I was trying to fight for King of the Cage, which is a pretty big organization. I don't know if you're familiar with King of the Cage.
Yeah.
I did fight for him. That was my last fight was King of the Cage. But the promoter, I was like, I want to fight for you. And he's like, what's your following? And I was like, what do you mean, what's my following? And he's like, what's your social media following? And I was like, I don't have a social media following. He's like, if you want to fight for me, you have to have one. So I was like, okay. And that's why I started Facebook. You know, I got on Facebook because a promoter told me to. You know, I didn't want to go on Facebook. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's not my thing. That's not for me. But he was like, you got to do it. You want to fight King of the Cage? This is what I need you to do. And then I went on Facebook, got 5,000 friends, you know, and then I went back to him. I said, hey, I got 5,000 people following me. Now what? You know? And the guy tried to screw me too, bro. The guy tried to screw me over because that's where I learned too. There's a lot of things, bro. There's a lot of snakes, bro, in MMA, obviously.
A lot of politics, right?
Well, this is what the guy did. This is what he would do. I'd say, hey, man, I want to fight for you, you know? He'd just blow me off. Then what he would do is he'd hit me up 2 days before a fight, and he'd say, hey, I got to fight for you. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I got to fight for you. And it's fighting some
Okay.
freaking champion who's like 10-0, you know, in Idaho. And he was trying to use me
Right.
as the guy to get another win on the guy's record, you know, because I wasn't training or anything. Like, this guy's like a serious fighter, dude. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just go fight this guy. You're not going to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I saw through it, luckily. I was like, no, dude, no, I'm not going to do it, you know? And so that pissed me off because I did all this stuff. I got a Facebook. I got all these followers. I went through all the steps just so he could try to set me up, you know? And then I was like, you bastard. And then luckily, you know, there was a time when the guy I fought actually was a guy who's just super popular, super huge following, 6'8" giant, bro. My last fight was against a giant. And
6'8".
6'8", 265, you know, and so that was an easy deal to put together, you know, and that's where I'll send you the video. There's a promo video. It's pretty cool, you know, it's like a commercial and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, send me that video, man. Send me that video. I want to see that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But you know, it's been such an interesting journey. And another thing is, I'm fighting again, bro, in January 15th, 2022. I haven't fought in 5 years. And a guy that I fought 10 years ago is starting up a promotion, and he contacted me, said he wants me to fight for him. And I was like, man, this is crazy too. I won't even share the whole story, but that was another God thing, bro. Like, when I fought this guy, God was part of that, you know. God was part of that. The guy that's a promoter now. So, and he gave me the worst beating of my life, this guy. Worst beating I ever took. I mean, pummeled
so
me.
You're going back for revenge then?
No. I'm not fighting him. He's the promoter now.
Oh, you're not fighting him. Oh, he's the promoter now. Okay.
He's the promoter. Yeah. So he wants me to fight for his promotion.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so no revenge.
Yeah,
no revenge or nothing like that. But yeah. But definitely it's just, and it's one of those things where, like, at this point, I like doing the bodybuilding, and I don't even necessarily have the desire to fight anymore. Like, I love spending time with my family. I love getting in shape. Like, I like being in my best shape. That's why bodybuilding is perfect for me. But that whole thing about my faith and this whole situation, you know, it's what inspires me to do it. And also the top 10 values that we did. So my number one is faith. My number one value in my life is my faith in God. And it's, if you define your values, those can also be the thing that you rely on, right? And so when I got offered the fight, I told Pete Rubish this. I said, man, I got this fight, and it's crazy because, like, I haven't fought in so long. Like, I don't even know if I can fight anymore, right? I don't know, dude. I haven't fought in 5 years. I've been out of it and everything. But when you have those values, it's like, okay, I could say, like everybody else, how am I going to do this? Well, I'm going to do Muay Thai. I'm going to do Jiu-Jitsu. I'm going to do wrestling. I'm going to do strength and conditioning. I'm going to do this diet. All these things that everybody does, right? But for me, it's like, no, I'm going to have faith. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have faith. And then I'm going to do it, right? I'm going to walk in faith. Yeah. That's how I'm going to do it. 100%. And that, bro, again, it brings me peace. That's what brings me peace in the situation. I have complete peace to do it. 100%.
Really interesting.
Yeah. And if you have that, you know, and you feel like this is God's will for your life, and you know what I mean? Because it's not going to be God's will in your life if it goes against his commandments. It's not. Like, if you feel like God's calling me to something, right? But that involves stealing, I can tell you that's not God's will for your life. Right?
Yeah.
It's not. If it's something that breaks God's commandments or whatever, you know. And a lot of people have a lot of hangups about mixed martial arts, but mixed martial arts is not. It's not violence. It's very honorable because you have two people that are agreeing to do this, knowing exactly what they're getting into, and there's a lot of rules that you follow. You know, which is respecting your opponent. You know, I mean, if you want to bring violence upon somebody, you'll bring a baseball bat. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's not a fair fight. So this is a fair fight. There's
completely.
nothing, you know, there's nothing.
Yeah, that's completely different.
Completely different. Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting stuff, man. I wasn't expecting that answer when I asked that question.
Yeah, that was a long answer, but
it's been quite the journey, man. And I really think anyone that's been listening to that will find that seriously interesting. And I hope people can relate to that too. And yeah, I think we're gone over 2 hours or something now. I'm not too sure.
Oh, wow.
And something like that.
It goes fast, bro. Like, and yeah, I saw your, like, you know, it inspired me a little bit to open up about the mental health stuff, because I know you've opened up to me, and I saw your eyes light up a little bit there. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, and that, dude, that is it, bro. That is it. You know, when you reached out to me a long time ago, you reached out to me and you said, the first time you messaged me, you said, hey, man, like, I just want to let you know, like, you guys talking about your faith has really inspired me in my faith. That's what you said.
Yeah.
You said that, right? You reached out and said, you guys talking about your faith, you and Pete, it's inspired me in my faith. And I messaged Pete and I said, dude, this is why I do this. This right here is the reason that I do this. It's why I do it, because that's the thing that matters, and that's the thing that is good. You know what I mean? Like, ultimately, dude, I don't even care about freaking MMA or strongman or powerlifting or bodybuilding. I really don't. I care about God. I care about people, you know, and like, same thing as the fighters. If I could reach a fighter, that's what I feel like God sent me to do. And or if I could reach somebody like you or whatever, or, you know, and I think I think you're called to the same thing. I think this is the same thing.
Yeah,
I called you out, bro, and you're going to be the guy, you know? And it's like that gets passed on to you, you know? It's like, hey, man, this is, you know, reaching people, and it's funny. It's funny because you opening up about your mental health, it inspired me to open up about it. You know what I mean? Like, in that moment when we were talking, I was like, it's not something I really like to share with people, that I was suicidal as.
No. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And that's why I think it's important for certain people, even like ourselves, to speak out more about mental health, because I can relate completely. I've been through lots of distress and mental health issues myself. It's in my family on both sides, and I think for men as well. Like, I mean, there's still that stigma. Like, you look everywhere, they say there's help. You go for help. You know, go for help here, go for help there. Realistically, when you go for help, there's not really that much fucking help there.
No.
And I think the best way to get help, is to fucking talk about it. And I think when other people see people like ourselves, who are a little, you know, we're bigger guys, we come across as strong, and like, we look like people who wouldn't have anxiety issues and that. And I think when we can speak about things like that, it can inspire and help the other people to speak up about it as well, you know? And that's why it's so important to me. And I just believe it's really important, man, because, I mean, especially since this COVID thing has started last year, the suicide rates have just gone through the roof. Addiction rates have just gone through the roof. It's crazy. People need to actually just speak about it.
See, and I did reach out for help, and they said, well, I could prescribe you this, and I could prescribe you that, and I could prescribe you, right? That's what they did. They prescribed me a bunch of drugs, and I was like, dude, I know what's causing this, actually. I just need somebody to help me work through it and know how to mentally come to grips with it.
Yeah, that's the other thing. They throw out the whole pill thing so fast. Like, I do believe in medication. There is a place and a time, but you have to do all of the other things first. Like, talk about it, fix your diet, do some exercise, just do simple little things every day. And if you can't do anything like that, then there might be a place and time where you do need medication to help you get to that place. But some doctors and therapists, they throw the pills out straight away. Yeah, I think it's just because they only care about fucking writing a prescription. You know, it's easier for them.
Yeah, bro, that's easier for them. And I think there's probably an incentive to do it too. You know, there's probably
Oh,
a
without a
financial
doubt.
incentive. I actually found this out, dude, just the other day. This is crazy. And it probably has to do with knowing the realities of things. The number one occupation, the number one suicide is doctors.
Really?
Doctors have the highest suicide rate of any occupation. Doctors. And I think it's because they probably know this whole system is screwed. And they're probably
Yes.
pushed to push drugs, and they realize, like, financially to make it, I got to push these drugs, and they probably know that it's wrong. And I bet you it just gets to them, man. Because you know what messes you up? You know what messes you up worse than anything, Dan? Is going against your morals.
100%.
If you live
100%.
against your morals, that'll trash you worse than anything else in life. So, you know, stick to your morals, man. Put it, that list, dude, that you sent me, that is above
Yeah.
everything, bro. Like, live for it. Live for your values, dude. Because if you don't, I mean, I studied even PTSD. You know, PTSD comes from experiences that you're just not prepared for, and also
Yeah.
doing something against your own values. And that's why a lot of people in war, dude, like, you get people who go to war, they run over little kids with a freaking truck, right? Like, you have to, like, oh, we got to drive, don't stop, drive, and you're running over a little kid. You get PTSD because of what you've done, and you can't come
Absolutely.
to grips with it. You know, so
No.
your
Yeah.
values, God put those values inside of you for you to live by them, you know, and it really matters a lot. It really does, man. And that's why, you know, I would say, I bet you, man, I bet you doctors are pushed into situations where they have to live against their values, and that's probably why they freaking kill themselves.
I agree completely, man. And with that, I'm going to say, like, to everyone, live for your values. And I think we should end it on that note. Anyone that has any questions that they'd like to ask me or reach out to me to bring things to the table here, you can find me on Instagram at Daniel underscore 1988. What about you, Scott?
Bro, just, you got to throw it in that you're Irish, bro. That's all. Don't nobody hit me up. Just leave me alone. Go to Daniel.
All right, brother. Well,
All right,
that's
thanks,
been a
man.
good
I
one, man.
appreciate it, bro. Appreciate you having me on.
Peace.
Hopefully people like it. All right, bro. Later.
Yeah, hopefully, man.